Welcome back to D&D Basics. This is part 2 of a series that will help you start playing Dungeons & Dragons. In this video, we'll be going through the character sheet provided on the official D&D website. A character sheet is what players use to detail what their character is able to do, and also record their character's progress throughout a campaign. Despite being called a character sheet, they are often composed of several pages. In this video, we'll be looking at the first 2 pages of the character sheet, define each section, and provide examples of how the character sheet is used during play. The third page of the character sheet involves spellcasting, which we will cover in a separate video. That being said, once we have an understanding of these 2 pages of the character sheet, we will be able to make a character so long as they do not have any spellcasting features at level 1. The character sheet that we will be using will be linked in the description below, and once again, we have started introducing concepts that may need explaining, so let's break down the character sheet. Character name. This is the name of a player character, or PC. A PC serves as the player's representative in the game world. A player has control of their thoughts and actions, allowing them to react and respond to the story they take part in. Class. A broad description of a player character's vocation. A character's class defines most of what they can do in Dungeons & Dragons. The 12 classes in the player's handbook are Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. A character starts at level 1 in any given class, and their level increases as they become more powerful. Some characters can gain levels in multiple classes. This is called multiclassing. Race. The species or ancestry of a character, such as humans, elves, or dwarves. This does not necessarily refer to a character's ethnic background. For example, all humans are a part of a single race in terms of game rules, but a human character can come from a multitude of ethnic backgrounds. There are 9 races in the player's handbook: dwarf, elf, halfling, human, dragonborn, gnome, half-elf, half-orc, and tiefling. Some races are divided into sub-races, such as wood elves and high elves, or mountain dwarves and hill dwarves. Background. A character's origin. A background describes what a character did in their day-to-day life before becoming an adventurer, and may even factor into one's goals or reasons for adventuring. Each background grants a character a background feature, special actions or qualities a character has that are typically roleplay oriented. Alignment. A broad description of a character's moral and personal attitudes. Alignment is a combination of one's morality, good, evil, or neutral, and their attitude towards society, lawful, chaotic, or neutral. Thus, 9 alignments can be defined in the game: lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. Many people have strict ideas of what type of behavior is and is not in line with each alignment, though in reality, it can be rare for any character to consistently demonstrate the prototypical behaviors associated with any given alignment. Player name. This is your name. Like your real name. Moving on. Experience points. A measure of how many encounters a character has faced and how much adventuring they have been through. When a character gains enough experience points, they will gain a level and become more powerful. Experience points are most often earned after success in combat. Abilities. Sometimes referred to as stats or attributes, abilities describe every character's physical and mental characteristics. There are 6 abilities in Dungeons & Dragons: Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. Ability scores. These are the numeric values of abilities. They are used to determine ability modifiers. Ability scores can be increased when a character reaches certain levels. They can also be increased or decreased by magic items and other features within the game. Ability modifiers. These values are derived from ability scores and are used for almost all dice rolls in the game, including attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. The typical range of ability modifiers are presented in this table. When a player makes an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, they roll a d20 and apply the related modifier. For example, a player is asked to make a strength check, and the strength modifier is +3. The dice lands with the 13 side facing up. After adding the +3 modifier, the final result of the strength check is 16. Strength, the measure of one's physical power. It relates to the use of melee weapons, the ability to overpower others, and affects other physical feats such as holding up heavy falling objects. A character's strength is also used to calculate how much weight they can carry, push, lift, or drag, as well as how far and how high they can jump. Dexterity, the measure of one's reflexes and the ability to move quickly and nimbly. It affects the use of ranged weapons as well as certain melee weapons. Constitution, the measure of one's health, stamina, and ability to withstand damage. Constitution also affects one's ability to resist harmful effects like disease or poison. Intelligence, the measure of one's mental acuity, their ability to recall lore or knowledge, and being able to reason using information. It is sometimes referred to as book smarts. Intelligence affects the magical potential of some spellcasters, most notably wizards. Wisdom, the measure of one's physical senses and mental intuition. It determines how well a character catches details that others would miss. It is sometimes referred to as street smarts. Wisdom affects the spellcasting power of clerics, druids, and rangers. It also affects a monk's class features. Charisma, the measure of one's force of personality and how effectively a character interacts with others, whether it be entertaining, persuasive, deceptive, or intimidating. Charisma affects the spellcasting powers of bards, paladins, warlocks, and sorcerers. Inspiration. This is a reward that is granted to players at their DM's discretion. Once a player has been granted inspiration, they are able to spend it at any time in order to gain advantage on an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. A player is also able to give their inspiration to others to use in the same way. How inspiration is rewarded will vary from DM to DM. But generally, a player will be rewarded when they demonstrate actions that show dedication to the stories that they, the Dungeon Master, and the other players have created. Proficiency, a description of one's training and high level of competence with the use of certain skills, weapons, armor, and tools. All characters have a proficiency bonus that increases as they gain experience and level up. At level 1, a character's proficiency bonus is +2. When a character makes dice rolls that they have proficiency with, they add the proficiency bonus to the result of the dice roll. This means that while many characters can attempt to use the same skills or weapons, a character with proficiency generally has a greater chance of success than a character without it. Saving throws. Also called saves, these are dice rolls that represent an attempt to resist or avoid a spell, trap, poison, disease, or similar threat that poses the risk of harm. Each class has their own saving throw proficiencies, which generally indicate which saving throws they are more likely to make with success. Filling in the circle to the left of a saving throw indicates proficiency. Skills. These represent specific uses of a character's abilities. Filling in the circle to the left of a skill indicates proficiency. There are 18 skills that all characters have access to. They are acrobatics, animal handling, arcana, athletics, deception, history, insight, intimidation, investigation, medicine, nature, perception, performance, persuasion, religion, sleight of hand, stealth, and survival. Acrobatics. This skill pertains to maintaining balance in tricky situations, or, as the name implies, acrobatic feats such as rolls, flips, or somersaults. Animal handling. This skill pertains to calming down or maintaining control of animals, whether they are wild, domesticated, pets, or mounts. Arcana. This skill pertains to being able to recall information regarding magic, such as spells, magic items, or magical traditions. Athletics. This skill pertains to acts of movement, such as running, climbing, jumping, and swimming when a character is faced with physically restrictive conditions or obstacles. It is also used to grapple others, and conversely, it can be used to free oneself from a grapple. Deception. This skill pertains to one's ability to convincingly hide the truth. History. This skill pertains to recalling information about events, people, wars, and civilizations. Insight. This skill pertains to reading the intentions of others, whether it is determining one's honesty or predicting one's next move based on body language or changes in mannerisms. Intimidation. This skill pertains to one's ability to influence others through threats, hostile actions, or demonstrations of power. Investigation. This skill pertains to gaining knowledge through deduction, that is to say, the examination of evidence or information and drawing a logical conclusion from the process. Medicine. This skill pertains to one's ability to diagnose illness or injury. This skill can also be used to stabilize dying companions in combat. Nature. This skill pertains to recalling information about terrain, plants, animals, weather, and nature cycles. Perception. This skill pertains to using one's physical senses, sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell, to gain information or find details that others might miss. Performance. This skill pertains to entertaining others through song, dance, storytelling, acting, or other performative arts. Persuasion. This skill pertains to influencing others through tactful, inspirational, or otherwise reasonable language. Religion. This skill pertains to recalling information about deities, rites, prayers, and religious symbols and practices. Sleight of hand. This skill pertains to acts of trickery using your hands, such as pickpocketing or concealing something on your person. Stealth. This skill pertains to one's ability to conceal their presence from others, such as hiding in shadows, moving through an area without being noticed, or rummaging through someone's belongings without waking them up. Survival. This skill pertains to navigating through nature, whether it be following tracks, avoiding the perils of the wilderness, or using what is available in the wild for food, shelter, and water. Passive perception. This represents how well a character can notice things with their physical senses even when they are not actively searching, such as when spotting an enemy attempting to sneak around the adventurers. For most characters, their passive perception is equal to 10 plus their perception modifier. Other proficiencies. Along with skills and saving throws, characters can have proficiency with weapons, armor, and tools. Languages. All characters can speak certain languages based on their race. Some backgrounds and class features give characters fluency in additional languages. Armor class. This is also called AC. It describes how difficult it is for enemies to hit a character with an attack roll, and vice versa. The higher one's armor class is, the more difficult it is to successfully hit them with an attack. Initiative modifier. For most characters, their initiative modifier is the same value as their dexterity modifier. Initiative determines the order in which combatants take turns in battle. When combat begins, each participant makes an initiative roll by rolling a d20 and applying their initiative modifier. The final value of the dice roll determines one's place in the initiative order. The combatant with the highest initiative value takes their turn first, and combat continues in descending order of initiative, repeating until the encounter has concluded. Speed. The amount of movement, described in feet, that a character can make during a single round of combat. Speed describes walking movement. Some races naturally have additional movement types, such as swimming or flying. Characters without these additional movement types can gain them through the use of spells, magic items, and some class features. Hit points. A representation of one's physical and mental durability. Creatures with more hit points are harder to defeat, and those with less hit points are more fragile. Some spells or abilities grant special hit points called temporary hit points. These represent a buffer that protects against a character's regular hit points. Hit points can be quickly restored through the use of magical items or healing spells. Otherwise, a character can regain hit points by taking either a long rest or a short rest. A long rest restores all of a character's hit points but requires an extended period of recovery. A short rest takes less time but also requires the spending of hit dice. Hit dice. These are used to determine how many hit points a character has. They are also a resource used to restore hit points during a short rest. At level 1, a character is limited to 1 hit dice. The type of dice is determined by the character's class. With each level, a character gains a hit dice, which increases their maximum capacity. If a character has spent any of their hit dice, they can restore an amount equal to half of their maximum quantity by taking a long rest. If they are at level 1, they regain their 1 hit dice. Death saving throws. These saving throws determine whether or not a character succumbs to death or clings to life. When a character reaches 0 hit points in combat, they become unconscious and must make a death saving throw on each of their turns. Death saving throws use a d20 but do not use any modifiers. Rolls of 10 or higher count as a success, anything lower is a failure. On a third success, the character becomes stable but remains unconscious. On a third failure, they die. Rolling on a 1 counts as 2 failures. Rolling on a 20 gives the character 1 hit point and returns them to consciousness. Attacks and spellcasting. Attacks are listed with an attack name, attack bonus, damage roll, and damage type. Ranged weapons and melee weapons designed to be thrown will list their effective range with 2 numbers. For example, a longbow's range is noted as range 150/600. This indicates that a longbow has a maximum range of 600 feet, but any attacks further than 150 feet are made with disadvantage. Additionally, many weapons have special properties that will affect their use, such as the versatility of using a longsword with 2 hands for more damage, or the lightness of scimitars that allows you to make an additional attack when wielding 2 at the same time. Attack names. A character can attack in a variety of ways depending on their class, from attacking with weapons like a greatsword or longbow, or casting spells like lightning bolt or eldritch blast. Attack bonus. This represents how well a character can successfully hit a target when making an attack roll. When a player makes an attack roll, they roll a d20 and add their attack bonus to the resulting dice roll. An attack bonus equals a weapon or spell's related ability modifier plus the character's proficiency bonus, if applicable. The attack successfully hits the target if the final result is equal to or greater than the target's AC. For example, a player controlling their character, Red, the human fighter, says, "I want to attack the hobgoblin with my longsword." The DM then asks them to make an attack roll. The player grabs a d20 and rolls, revealing a 15. The longsword is a melee weapon, so the player adds their strength modifier, which is +3. Since Red is a fighter, they are also proficient with the use of longswords, so the player adds their proficiency bonus of +2. The final value of the attack roll is 20. The DM hears the player call out the final value, 20. They take a look at the hobgoblin's AC, 18. The DM confirms that the attack hits the hobgoblin and asks the player to make a damage roll. Damage. A damage roll is made after a character has hit their target. The dice used in a damage roll varies according to what type of weapon or spell is used. Weapon damage rolls apply the same ability modifier used for the attack roll. Spell damage rolls typically do not apply ability modifiers unless the spellcaster has a feature that allows this. No damage rolls apply the character's proficiency bonus to the final result. There are 13 types of damage: acid, bludgeoning, cold, fire, force, lightning, necrotic, piercing, poison, psychic, radiant, slashing, and thunder. From the previous example, Red used the longsword with 1 hand, so the player grabs a d8 and rolls for damage. The dice lands, revealing a 4. Because Red is using a weapon and used strength for the attack roll, he also adds his strength modifier of +3 to the damage roll, resulting in a total of 7 points of slashing damage to the enemy hobgoblin. Equipment and currency. Each character starts with their own equipment according to their class and background, which can include weapons, armor, spellcasting items, tools, adventuring gear, and other miscellaneous objects. Currency is represented using copper pieces, silver pieces, electrum pieces, gold pieces, and platinum pieces. The value of each piece of currency is as follows. Personality. Characters are individuals with their own stories, interests, connections, and capabilities beyond those that class and race can define. This section is for the details that further distinguish characters from one another. Personality traits. These might describe the things a character likes, his or her past accomplishments, things they dislike or fear, a character's self-attitude or mannerisms, or the influence of his or her ability scores, such as a low constitution or low intelligence. Ideals. These are the things that a character believes in most strongly, and can encompass everything from their life goals to their core belief system. Bonds. These represent a character's connections to people, places, and events in the world, and can work very much like ideals, driving a character's motivations and goals. Flaws. These represent a personal vice, compulsion, fear, or weakness that someone else could use to exploit a character or cause them to act against their best interests. Features and traits. A character has access to features and traits from their race, class, background, and optional feats. Physical description. A character's age, height, weight, and the color of their eyes, skin, and hair. Some of these features can be affected by a character's race. Character appearance. A visual representation or portrait of the player character. Character backstory. This is a detailed description of the character's background, as well as other information about their origins. Allies and organizations. Whether through their background or through their adventures, a character will meet important figures to their story. These figures are not limited to allies, as they can also be enemies or neutral third parties. Organization symbol. Major organizations typically have an identifying symbol. A character may be able to join or establish such organizations. Additional features and traits. A continuation of the features and traits section from the previous page. Treasure. Throughout their adventures, a character can claim high-value assets such as magic items, art, jewelry, and other rare objects. And with that, we have broken down the first 2 pages of the character sheet provided on the Dungeons & Dragons website. Even if you end up using a character sheet with a different format, this information, along with the basic rules or the player's handbook, will help you make your first character. If you want to make a character that does not use spellcasting at level 1, then you have all of the information necessary to do so. Otherwise, we will go over spellcasting in the next video of this series. Once again, I hope this video was helpful to you, and I wish you luck on your next adventure.